28, we are 16 lines from the top of the page. It's really zchut to learn and to teach here in Yerushalayim. And before we start the shiur daf, some definition in continuation of yesterday. First, when we use the term chamoto today, chamoto in general means mother-in-law. But we must understand that it's not only mother-in-law, it can be other cases. Just to make sure we all understand each other, we explained it several times. There is a long list in Leviticus 18 of certain abominations, certain arayot that prohibited. One of them is the wife of the brother. On the contrary, you see in Deuteronomy 25 a mitzvah, a commandment to do ייבום, to do a Levirate marriage upon the deceased brother, meaning if there are two brothers, Reuven and Shimon, and Reuven passed away, his brother Shimon has the obligation, opposite than prohibition, to go ahead and redeem the soul of the deceased, which is the surviving brother needs to marry the wife of the deceased. Now, we learn at the very end of that Mishnah on page 26 that if you have a case of four brothers, for our easy understanding, we use the biblical names. So use Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda, four brothers. Now, Reuven and Shimon married two sisters, which is Rachel and Leah. Rachel, listen carefully, the wife of Reuven, has a daughter from previous marriage. That daughter married Levi. So it means that Levi's mother-in-law is the widow, the wife of Reuven, who is now deceased. So since Reuven and Shimon, as we explained in our theory, Reuven and Shimon died childless, now the two sisters, Rachel and Leah, fall to the ייבום, to the Levirate marriage before Levi and Yehuda. So since Rachel in one hand is Levi mother-in-law, and therefore the moment she's mother-in-law is one of the list of arayot, of abomination, Leviticus 18. So here we use it as mother-in-law, as we said. Rashi tells us it's just because it's easy for us to understand. 16 lines from top of page 28. Tnan, hayta achat me'en asura la'echad. If one of them, for example Rachel, prohibited to one of them, which is Levi, as we explained, because a daughter married to him. Isur erva, for example, mother-in-law. Asur ba, umutar ba'achota. He cannot have Rachel, yet Leah, his sister, he can go and marry. Why? Because she's not considering achod zekukato, since there is no zikaban between them. V'hasheni, however, Yehuda, asur b'shnehem. Why? Because since one of them it's not considered Eva by Yehuda, so they are each bound to him in the manner of zikaban. So each of them is the sister of the zekuka, and therefore he cannot take either one of them for the ייבום, and he has no choice but to do וחליצה. So since the Mishnah did not divided the words salka da'atin, so therefore we have the assumption the nafla chamoto, that the Rachel, the mother-in-law of Levi, tchila, and then the sister, the second sister Leah, which means the Rachel was allowed to Yehuda at the time that she fell for the ייבום, and then and only then when you have her sister Leah, she prohibited to him because it's called Achot Zekukato, the sister of the one. Because remember, after Reuven passed away, Rachel, the wife of Reuven, was the only Yevamah. She was prohibited to have ייבום with Levi because it's her son-in-law. Yet, at that very moment, she was allowed to Yehuda. Only after Shimon was no longer among the living, then Leah too, her sister, fall to Yehuda, and therefore Rachel is considering Achot Zekukato, and she is prohibited to him. Ve'amai, why does the Mishnah forbid Yehuda to take either widow? Leiku Chatan, let the brother, which is the one widow's son-in-law, which is Levi, Le'abem hach de'eina chamoto bereisha, he can do ייבום to Leah, is not his in-law, as we explained. She is sister, she's not even Achot Zekuka of Levi, Rashi said, and therefore Leah allowed to have ייבום with him. V'teheve chamoto legabe idach, and then his mother-in-law, which is Rachel, will be good for his brother Yehuda. Ki vama שהותרה ונאסרה וחזרה והותרה תחזור להיתרה הראשון. She was like Yevamah, that originally was allowed, then she was prohibited, then she goes back and permitted, and then she goes to the original state of permission, because when you have a situation that Leah was under the ייבום, then Rachel is not Zekuka sister of Yehuda. So therefore, the whole point of the husband death change. And what happened here, the question is, why did the Mishnah say that the second Yavam, which is Yehuda, prohibited to those two sisters? So the Gemara replied and said, Amar Rav Papa, Kegon shenafla hach de'eina chamoto bereisha, which means if Leah was the first one, and then you have the second one, Rachel. So even if originally he can do ייבום with Leah, still Rachel prohibited to Yehuda. Why? Because the moment that it's for him to ייבום, she was prohibited to him. So why? Because it's Achot Zekukato. The moment that she falls to the ייבום, she is Achot Zekukato from that moment. And therefore, even Levi do ייבום to Leah, she will still prohibited to Yehuda. That's the way Rabbi Yochanan said, that the moment that the Yevamah fall to that category, she cannot have any heter in the future. That's, by the way, Tosfot Dibur Matchil Hach said. So, meaning, that's basically what we said in the Mishnah, and we're going to learn it also in page 32, is the moment that that prohibition takes place once, it's already forever. It can stay forever, it cannot change. So we learned in the Mishnah, if you have 4 brothers, 2 of them married to 2 sisters, and those married to 2 sisters passed, so they need to do וחליצה and not ייבום. Yeah, the Mishnah said if it's already, the brother went ahead and married the sisters, so then they have to divorce them. They must. Rabbi Eliezer אומר, בית שמאי אומרים וכולי. So basically Rabbi Eliezer holds, בית שמאי said יקיימו, בית שמאי said לא יקיימו. תניא רבי אליעזר אומר, בית שמאי אומרים יקיימו, ובית הלל אומרים יוציאו, רבי שמעון אומר יקיימו, אבא שאול אומר, קל היה להם לבית הלל בדבר הזה. שבית שמאי אומרים יוציאו ובית הלל יקיימו. So I explained my book, ביורע כלומר ברש"י על הש"ס. רש"י here said, כלומר בית הלל לכולן אמרי. So קל להם, in a simple lucid interpretation, it means that it's easy for them to say it. And Rashi said no. Abba Shaul wants to emphasize that Bet Hillel said lenience and not stringence, not like Rabbi Eliezer. So why use the word kalaim? So the Yerushalmi said it means that Abba Shaul was unhappy. It's called gnut. But according to Abba Shaul, he says that in his tradition there is no place to do any Isur and Chumrah here. Now just remember that the same Abba Shaul we're going to study in 39, who said something that is more practical halachot, that you don't go in ייבום nowadays, because most of the cases people does that for other motivation. Anyway, Rabbi Shimon Keman. Rabbi Shimon said that they don't need to divorce the wife, according to whom? Ike Beit Shammai Hainu Rabbi Eliezer. That Rabbi Eliezer said that Beit Shammai allowed to do it. Ike Beit Hillel Hainu Abba Shaul, that they allow it. So what is Rabbi Shimon meant? So the Rashi said Rabbi Shimon was later, was not in that generation. So he said, Hacheke Amar lo nechelku Beit Shammai ובית הלל בדבר זה, which means there is no disputation between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel in that manner, which means they all agree that the brothers remain married to their wives. So Rabbi Shimon disputed the version of Rabbi Eliezer and Abba Shaul. הייתה אחת מהם, so if one of the two sisters, so the Mishnah said, forbidden to one of the brother by Rav prohibition, he is forbidden to take her, but is permitted to take a sister in ייבום. התן נינה חד הזימנה, אחותה כשהיא יבמתה, או חולצת או מתייבמת. So if it's two brothers that marry two sisters, and they passed, and the two sisters fall to ייבום before the third brother, so if one of them was Rav to that Yavam, he can do ייבום to the others. So why need to repeat that? צריכה. דיש מילנתם, משום דליקה למגזר משום שני, אבל אחת דליקה למגזר משום שני ימדו. ויש מילנך משום דליקה שני דליקה מוכח. אבל אתה דליקה שני ימדו צריכה. So you need the both משניות. So then the Mishnah said, if one of them prohibited to one of the brothers איסור מצווה or איסור קדושה, so she have to do וחליצה and not ייבום. הנמי תנינה, we learn that halacha also in the Mishnah, in the second parak over there, which is on page 20, 28b, Isur mitzvah ve'isur kedusha, which is, again, Isur mitzvah, it's a rabbinic, Isur kedusha, it's a biblical. So he said, choletzet ve'lo mityaber. So she is a chod zkuka. She's prohibited. So why the Mishnah wants to mention that? Hatam isur mitzvah lechuda, hacha isur mitzvah ba'achota, because the achot zkuka. Saka ledach minalekum isur mitzvah b'kom isur ba v'tityabem kama shmela. Because she allowed to do ייבום in isur ba. So you think that that's applied here. You may think that she said that isur mitzvah is not considered achot zkukato. So kama shmela. So therefore the Mishnah wants to teach us that the sister is forbidden. So they said v'tityabem, so that the sister should be subject to ייבום. כיוון דמורת הרמי קמי, because this יבמה prohibited יבמה is איסור מצווה before the יבם, כפגע באחות זקוקתו. So he will transgress, again, taking the זקוקה sister. סלגלת החמינה משום מצווה עבור רבנן. You may think that because of the mitzvah to perform ייבום, the sages are exception to the zkuka sister prohibition in the case where the zkuka is prohibited because of the mitzvah. Kamash Melan, the Mishnah teaches that it's not so. And that sister prohibited in this case. הייתה אחת מהם, if one of the sisters forbidden to the brother by the ערווה, so אסורה לזה, מותרת לזה, אסורה לזה, מותרת לזה. עד ולמה לי? Why you need this part of the Mishnah? היינו, this is the same thing. That if the one is every Yisrael, but the other, so mali lechad, mali letrei. What's if one of the sisters is every Yisrael, or both? Tzricha liyash minata mishum deika sheni demurchach. Because they have the second brother that he is avoiding from doing ייבום. So he shows us that it's prohibited to do ייבום for achot zkuka. אבל אחת הלקה שני לכמוך החיים הלא. ויש לנו עד רבת רבה ומוכח לידדה, אבל אידך לא צריכה. So המשנה concluded זהו שאמרו, אחותה שהיא בימתה או חולצת או מתייבמת. So what does that mean when you use the term, this is זוהי, but the case concerning which they are stated? זוהי למהות מה? למהות איסור מצווה לזה, ואיסור מצווה לזה. It is to exclude when the sister is prohibited by mitzvah to this brother, and the other one is prohibited by mitzvah to the other brother. So the both sisters need וחליצה. So the Gemarrah said, how to lamali? Why you need this? היינו הך. מלי לחד, מלי לטרי. What's the difference? One of the sisters is prohibited mitzvah to the brother, or the sister prohibited mitzvah to the two brothers? מה הוא לתמה כאילו אומרים לנו, אוקיי, איסור מצווה במקום איסור ערווה, חי דיקה למגזר משום שני, אבל איך הדלקה למגזר משום שני, אם עליה היוקים לה איסור מצווה במקום איסור ערווה, אולי דיקום לה איסור מצווה במקום איסור ערווה, אבל יבמו, each of them should do ייבום, each of the brother to the sister that allow him, כמה שמלן, so therefore Mishnah come to teach us, that even in that case, you cannot do ייבום. So in conclusion, what you see here, that the number one, if you have two sisters that fall before two deceased brothers, to two surviving brothers for ייבום, neither one can do ייבום because it's a achot zkuka sister. Now, when you have a case that one of the sisters prohibited to one of the brothers by the erva, so that brother can do ייבום for the other sister. Now, when one of the sisters is prohibited by mitzvah to the other, or isur kedusha by the others, he maintained forbidden to take either one in ייבום. So they said, אמר רב יהודה אמר רב, וכן תן לרבי חייא, בכולן אני קורא בהם, אסורה לזה מותרת בזה, ואחותה כשהיא בימתה, חולצת ולא מתייבמת, because the Mishnah speaks about 15 cases of the ייבום, so this is those who exempt from ייבום וחליצה, and that's all the 15, אבל שיטה בבבי דרישה, but you have 6 that cases in the Mishnah, the case of daughter, daughter's daughter, daughter's sons, wife daughters, wife's son's daughter, and wife's daughter. So you have that situation. He said, "My tama." The reason, since we have the one daughter can occur only when daughter brought to the violation of a mother. בנישואין לא משכחת לה. So to the marriage, you can't find this type of circumstance. So בנישואין כמיירי, או נשים לו כמיירי. So the Mishnah deals with a regular case of marriage. Don't speaks about cases of violations. So they said, another interpretation, והבעיה מתרגם, אף ביתו מאנוסתו, כיוון דאשכוך למשכחת לה. היא באה בו נשים תהווה, היא באה בנישואין תהווה. So, because when you use the term bito in the Mishnah, daughter, it's also daughter that comes out of violation. אבל יש את אחיו שלא היה בעולמו. By the way, you see several books in מסכת יבמות that they have all these different charts that go and explain. But for those who are not so familiar, I have to give you a word of encouragement. let's take a break for a second. There is a book called Peleoetz. So it was a great Sephardic rabbi by the name of Rabbi Elazar Papo. He wrote many books. One of them is well accepted book. It's called Peleoetz. So he's going by Aleph Bet. So one of the writing is called Ger. And it's not just a literal meaning of Ger, meaning convert, but it's also talking about people who are basically new to a subject. So refer to another part, it's called Zohar. And in short, what he tried to say is, when someone studies Zohar, and his level of understanding is getting close to zero, and you sit in a shiur and the Rav teaching in a shiur Zohar, and you're sitting there and you're spacing out. But he said that the neshama, number one, understand it. Number two, Hashem did not expect person to go above his ability. You've been there, you try hard, at this point it's good. Don't belittle that. Don't close the book and think because it's overwhelming, I'm giving up. Just keep listening and keep doing it. One of our people that watch us is head of English department by Georgetown University in Washington. So he wrote me an email the other day, and he said that he was watching our shiur, and we dedicate that shiur to his mother, so he had a special interest.
History department, right? History department? Or
No, English department.
English, okay.
So he said that he rewinded several times until he get the point. So again, you try a new level, and as much as you get, you get.
And
but just by being there, it's also important.
And don't hesitate to rewind on here.
Yes.
On YouTube. So.
אבל לאשת אחיו שלא היה בעולמו. But concerning the wife of one's, that it's not brother, that's not the word of Rabbi Chia. כיוון דאלי בדי רבי שמעון בן השכחת לה, because since in this erva only you have a case that two sisters can do ייבום, עלי בדי רבנו לא משכחת לה, you can do it by the sages. So this is a famous disputation between Rabbi Shimon and sages in regards to לאשת אחיו שלא היה בעולמו. So the Rabbi Shimon said that she's exempt from ייבום וחליצה. The sages said that any case that the brother, the Yavam, was born after his brother passed away, so it's the sister is considering Eshet Achiv, the sister of his brother, that he wasn't contemporary in his life. So even she have ייבום with the other brother before this brother was born, but this brother is considering Eshet Ach, but still they said that she's prohibited to him because of the oldest brother. So you said that if the second one passed with no children, she would be erva by the third one. So Rabbi Shimon disputed and he said it's only applied before the brother was born. And the moment that the brother was passed, he's no longer Isu Eshetach. So he said, therefore, he can marry her. You discuss it on page 18. Viflugta lo kamayre. Third explanation by Rav Safra. Metargem. Rav Safra interpreted the statement of Rav Chia as follows. Af eshet achi shlo abanamo mashkav ela b'shita achi. 6 brothers. V'ali b'd Rabbi Shimon v'simanich. Met v'nolad v'yibem. Met nolad v'yibem. So you see the charts in your books. How it happens. Basically it was 4 brothers, that the first one passed and the 5th one passed and the second one do ייבום, and then the 3rd brother passed and the 6th one born and he did another ייבום, etc. ראובן ושמעון עושים משתי אחיות ויהודה עושים משתי נוכריות, which means other women, not sisters. מת ראובן ולד יששכר וייבם לוי. מת שמעון ולד זבולון וייבם יהודה. מתו לוי יהודה ולא בנים. נפלו ליקמי יששכר וזבולון. So that's basically follow Rabbi Shimon what we said in the Mishnah. And he said, אסורה לזה מותר לזה ואסורה לזה מותר לזה לאחותה שהיא ייבמתה. So she is prohibited to זבולון allowed to יששכר. למה לי ייבם יהודה ולא היא ביגודה למה משכחת לה. So he said משום צרה, because the co-wife. So if Rabbi Dr has another wife, since the first Mishnah of the מסכת, the tractate, I mentioned 15 arayot, as well as the co-wife who wish to apply Rabbi Chia's idea to the case with the co-wives as well. Ha-teinach tzara. You understand co-wife, tzara de tzara ma'ika lemeima. But how do you explain the co-wives of the co-wife? Since the first Mishnah, even a co-wife, it must be possible. Rabbi Chia hold that it's applied to them as well. So how that can be? So we say kigon de hadar. If then Levi, after the passing Levi and Yehuda, Gad and Asher come and does ייבום of the first wife of Levi and Yehuda, the hadar v'yaminu nami Gad v'Asher. Then Gad v'Asher passed away, and the wives and Asher, there is a tzarot tzarotem to the wife of Reuven and Shimon, co-wives of the co-wives. So even if those women are sisters, they can do ייבום, one to Issachar and one to Zvulun.
ויחם לשולוים מלאכי השולוים מלאכי